Hi, this is the recap from today's live stream where I was working on the amazing book of Bling. And it is amazing because Bling is not something I do a lot of work with. Maybe I might do more of it in the future, but right now I'm just trying to finish off this book. I started it at least a year ago, and it was a way for me to try to use up so many of the pretties that I have been hoarding. I had bought a lot of boho type materials thinking I was going to make a lot of boho journals and didn't end up going in that direction. So I put together this book with lace pages. You don't really see the lace, and the only reason they're lace pages is it was, again, something I had left over in my drawer. I used the lace pages to make the pages for the book, and each page in the book has a different color. And one of the things we talked about that I got super excited about was how to do the cover. I had another piece of lace, and by piece of lace, I mean a piece of fabric where I had stitched, just tacked basically a whole bunch of tiny pieces of lace, just like the scraps at the end of something, kind of like making a snippet roll that was all neutral. And I attacked that to one piece of fabric, and that was going to be my cover. And the idea that I had come up with was that I was going to cover the cover with all the different colors of bling that were inside the books. And Sue Brown, thank you very much for the suggestion that was echoed by other people, that maybe I should leave the cover neutral so that it was more of a surprise when you looked inside. And I love that idea. And the more we talked about it, I'm going to make a wide strip to hold it all closed. And on that wide strip, I will couch a bunch of different things that are the multicolors. So you will still get that effect of the multicolors, but it's not going to be overwhelming. So I was really happy to come to the decision about that. That'll mean I can finish this a lot faster. Now the green spread was the last one left. I have 3 center spreads, and the green one is the very center of the book. I saved it for last because green is my favorite color. Figured it was all going to fall into place. But what happens with me, maybe it happens with you too, when you haven't worked on a project for a while, you kind of forget the zone. It's kind of hard to get back into the zone, and I confess, I was forcing it a little bit, trying to find my way back into that. On the other pages, I had done something, I had to do something to kind of go over the edges, and so that's why you see I've got the long strips of lace there, and I was going to just build up on that. And I wasn't so worried about the curve because I could, cut that curve out, or I could stitch it back a little bit differently. I was just kind of trying to get to the point of covering up the pages. And it wasn't happening. It just wasn't happening. I wasn't feeling like it. People said set it aside, but I'm really determined that I want to finish this book within the next month. I may not finish it one day right after the next, or work on it one day right after the next, but I want to finish that in the next month. So I remembered really what the other pages had started with was just going back to making clusters. And that's what I ended up doing. On the other pages, I had made, and I'll actually link to maybe another live stream where you can at least flip through and see the pages that I had done thus far. But I had made bigger clusters and then put them on the page and then kind of added things behind them. So it took me half the live stream to get to the point where I knew where I was going again. And then I got excited because making clusters, I mean, come on, it's one of my most favorite things to do. Even if I didn't remember to bring the cluster card out. So I was really making do with the greens that were on my desk. But it's good practice, right? All of this is good practice to think about how you can really make something look a little bit differently by, cutting the different, shapes. You can take the seam ripper to the edges. You can layer it where you've got all, in the same tones. You can alternate the colors. I did all kinds of playing around with things, and I added some beads and a button to each of the clusters. And by the time I got to the end of this, I was actually feeling pretty good that I had 3 nice sized clusters that I'm going to be able to add to the pages and build up. One of the other things we talked about is the classes that I'm trying to plan. I'm going to set up some classes over on Teachable, and I'm real excited to do it. I want to do some for some absolute beginners, people that are just getting started in following their creative interests. And so I kind of want to hear from you guys what you want to see. Some of the suggestions that I had from people today were that they wanted to do things with leaves. Definitely a lot of interest in doing things with leaves, and I do want to go back to doing more of my nature work, kind of like my Nature's Whisper artist book that I created. I want to do some with dyeing, different ways to dye fabric. They wanted to see something with sticks, doing some things with the sticks. They wanted to do digi-images, how to do their own digi-images. Clusters, perhaps just a mini class that was just about doing clusters where it was focused. You didn't have to go back digging through the YouTube stuff. So if there's something that you have been thinking about, something you've seen me do that you would like to see perhaps in a little more intense class thing, I would love for you to let me know down in the comments so that I can build some courses around what most people want to see. I do try to offer an awful lot for free on YouTube, and it's really scary to think about getting to the point where you're going to make classes and ask people to turn over some of their hard-earned money. But I know you guys understand that I am building an art business, and that is what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to balance it between what I can do for free and what I can offer for a reasonable charge, as well as creating art that I can sell and supplies that I can sell to other artists. So this is the creative life. You find 3 or 4 or 10 different ways to try and bring some small income streams in, and it all adds up. But the most important thing, you know where I'm going with this, right? What is the most important thing? Every single day I sit down to create, it is the same important thing. It is, am I having a good time? If I'm not having a good time, can I do something different so I am having a good time? Am I having fun? Because really, there is never enough fun in our lives. It's okay if you get frustrated. I got frustrated when I realized I couldn't quite get back into the zone right away. I got frustrated when I was laying out some landscapes earlier in the week because, again, I couldn't get back into the zone and I didn't like the way things were coming together. It's okay to get frustrated. That doesn't mean you're not happy making your art. But if you are not having a good time making art, or maybe you're stitching and you're thinking, boy, I would really rather be playing with watercolors, go play with your watercolors. And I know I harp on this a lot. I harp on this almost every video. It's because it's so important. It's because many of us have spent a lot of time in our lives doing things that don't make us happy, either because we've been obligated to make things happen because of jobs, because of family obligations, or maybe we've just felt like, well, we invested all this time and money in either the training or the supplies, and we create from a sense of obligation, and that's never a good thing. It really isn't. We need to create from the heart. Even if you're never going to sell your work, even if you have no desire other than to make something for your own home or to make something to give to somebody in your family, you want to create from the happy place. You want to be having a good time doing it. Because the flip side of that is being depressed about your work, is kicking yourself. And the more you kick yourself, the easier it is to keep kicking yourself. And that's no fun. I spent way more years than I want to count. One of these days I'm going to count them up, but way more years than I want to count kicking myself for things that I didn't do right, things that I didn't do for love, things that I did because I felt obligated, and it gave me way too many years of being miserable. All right, enough about that. Enough, Susan. You talk about that all the time. This was all about hanging out with friends in the weekly live streams. We always have some interesting conversations. Our friend Mouse shows up and asks some really good questions. People from all types of creative paths are welcome because we can all learn from one another. We all can learn from sharing our creative journeys, our creative frustrations, how we have surmounted those creative frustrations. Don't feel that because you're a beginner, you can't pipe up in the conversation. Don't feel because you're an expert that you can't partake. We all have something that we can share. And sometimes it might be that one little thing that you're thinking, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. And then you go ahead and you speak up. And it might be that one thing that somebody else takes away. They might not even mention it, but they're going to carry it away with them and they're going to remember. And one of the things we pride ourselves on in my live stream, and I say we because really it's a group effort, is we pride ourselves on being a welcoming group of people. Everybody is welcome. We all want to hear what's going on in your creative life. And after the live stream, come on over to the Facebook group and join us there, because we share our pictures about our projects, we share our frustrations about our projects, and we cheer each other on. Because who can't use another cheerleader in their corner? You guys are all great cheerleaders for me, and I cannot say thank you enough for that. I cannot believe that I have continued to keep up with the weekly live streams. I don't have a real good history with that kind of follow through. I thought I might drop the ball, but you guys have been so encouraging to me that you make me want to sit down and create with you every week. And gee, look at this. At the end of this week, at the end of this session, not the end of this week, at the end of this session, an hour and a half, I've got 3 great clusters to go in my great big Just Because book of Bling that is close, approaching the finish line. Thanks so much for all your support, and I hope to see you in the Facebook group or maybe at next week's live stream. Cluster 1, cluster 2, and there is cluster number 3.